Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this morning's episode of Trending, brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. Head over to shop.iconic.com and use the code TRENDING for 10% off. How are you, Richard? You okay, mate?
I'm all right, thank you. We've got World War Kindergarten going on downstairs, so I do apologise. Sick children, and they're my sick children. They're not in the basement.
No,
So,
it's that time of year, mate, where the plague rats are literally everywhere and parent life is one big clean-up operation. What else could cause the need for a clean-up operation? Bird flu. There you go. There's a segue.
There you go.
This is from Sky News, Rich. Bird flu tops list of viruses likely to cause another pandemic. Bill Gates is doing that as we speak. So authorities are on high alert. An avian influenza is found in a sheep, which seems somewhat symbolic. In Yorkshire. The close contact humans have with domesticated animals is an extra worry because the virus has more opportunities to jump species again on that little hop. A sheep infected with bird flu will ring another alarm bell, Richard. Ding-a-ding-ding-ding-ding. There we go. That's done that. As the virus continues to drift into mammals. Now, this comes after it's basically happened in America with cows, with cattle, beef cattle being infected apparently with it, and horses as well. The H5N1 virus is found widely in the US in dairy cattle as well. So it's kind of everywhere, really. You're sort of ticking off the food supply there a bit. These are spillover infections. That sounds like a nice little buzz term we're probably going to hear a lot about later. Like asymptomatic. Remember that one? That was a good one. With a bird virus jumping species, that's a concern, particularly if the virus shows signs of adapting to mammalian cells. So presumably me and you, basically. It then repeats the line, close contact humans have with domesticated animals is an extra worry. So the way I see this, Rich, you might see it differently, but the way I see this as a kind of multi-layered thing. So part of it's about fear, because fear sells. You know, people are addicted to fear porn, particularly after 2020 and all that nonsense 5 years ago. People have kind of become sort of hooked on the dopamine of fear. Now, to talk about fear, I can give you a perfect anecdotal example of this, because when this story broke late yesterday evening, I actually received a message from someone that I know in the village who was affected deeply by COVID and the lockdowns and losing jobs and work and all this kind of stuff, and really affected their mental health. He actually messaged me going, mate, I can't deal with it again. Like, I can't face this again. So you're like, oh, okay, so it's working then. It's creating that anxiety among the population. Part of it is about keeping it in the public mind, of course, because you keep talking about pandemics and potential pandemics and bird flu and all this kind of stuff. It's then not a shock when suddenly they announce SARS-CoV-3. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's there. It's always kind of just, you know. And of course, you then think about Bill Gates with the next one will get attention. So you think, okay, well, are they going to really ramp this up? Does that mean another round of mRNA shite being injected into people? That's, you know, a potential part of it as well. Another part of it, of course, is culling livestock. So those farms that are identified as having avian flu in their dairy cattle, we better kill them then. In the beef cattle, well, we better kill them then. In the sheep, you know, again, we better kill them then, and kill the lambs while you're at it. So, you know, you're destroying the food supply. You're attacking the farmers because they're going to lose all that money, their essentially their livelihood, just like they did with foot and mouth a few years ago, where they just destroyed the farms of the United Kingdom. And you have, you know, well, there's a war on them anyway, for a start, in terms of the money and stuff. So you can see it, you know, happening, you know, get off the chicken and on the crickets, kids. But there's another bit which I've noticed, the fact they focus it on in this article, and that is basically trying to break the bond between people and their pets. Essentially humans and, you know, man's best friend is dog. I mean, you've got pets, haven't you, Richard? I had pets as a kid. We had cats when I was a kid. I don't have them now because for me, I kind of travel too much and stuff. So it's, you know, I'd like to, I just go away too much to be able to have pets, really. But all my neighbours have got pets and stuff. So you think, okay, Well, why would they want to break that bond between people and their pets? And there's lots of different conversations about that in terms of the humanity of it and having that bond between man and beast and stuff, and trying to break that and trying to isolate people, particularly elderly people that rely on that, dog to keep them company and whatever. But for me, I'm the same as you, Rich, and I know my dad says it all the time. If something comes from nowhere and suddenly it's everywhere, there's something behind that. There's an agenda. So I looked at this and I thought, do you know what? I feel like there's been a war on pets for a while. Like dog attacks are suddenly every 5 minutes as opposed to very rare. They're every 5 minutes now, different breeds of dogs being banned. XL bullies is the very famous one in the United Kingdom, isn't it, Rich, where it's like, you can't have them. And certain dogs are then associated with scallywags, basically, chavs or kevs or whatever you call them, townies they were called in my day, walking around with tracksuits with big massive violent dogs on chains and all that kind of stuff. That goes in the mind, and it's like, right, we need to ban them then. But I saw these articles because I just put it in as a search. I thought, all right, let's just search, because I think to myself there's a war on pets, but am I being a tinfoil hat paranoid freak? Potentially, right? So I just thought, right, let's just see what's in the news. So obviously, we've got that article from Sky News saying that it's a worry having pets, essentially, because of this virus. And then you go independent. Okay, by owning a pet, you're doing more damage to the environment than you might realise. Okay, all right, so there's two articles. This one from Time magazine. The UK briefly considered killing all pet cats early in the pandemic. Okay, so that's three stories.
There was a ban in Scotland, wasn't there, about cats, keeping cats?
There was something about that, wasn't there? I forgot about that. Yeah, exactly. So there's 4 stories then. And then this one, the case against pets. Is it time to give up our cats and dogs? And that's from The Guardian. So all of a sudden you go, something going on here, mate. What are your thoughts, Rich, as a pet owner?
Well, the first thing is you don't own a pet, you take care of a pet. It's like you don't own your children. So there's one thing. You can't give up something you don't own. What you're going to do, just shut the door and watch your cat just like disintegrate in front of you. They'll just go find something else to eat. It's bizarre. There's a lot of things going on with that avian flu. It was interesting what you said about over to the sheep, the jumping over the sheep. They're kind of framing it in as a sort of like the fog film, aren't they? That is spreading throughout the farms, and you can see this misty kind of scenery where it just spreads over the farms and goes from one animal to the next. There's also this end times stuff that I always bring up, the 7 plagues at the end of the year. There has to be 7 plagues. So the avian flu would be one of them and COVID would be another. So they have to have all these things in place, and they play off these scenarios, but it's quite clear that they're attacking the farms, attacking what you eat. We also have this other understanding, this esoteric understanding is what you are, what you eat. This is where it comes from, is that whatever you consume, you take on the soul of. That's why the Eucharist is a bit weird. So whatever you consume, it becomes part of you. So they don't want you to be eating these animals because they're sacred to some of these occultists. So there is that part of it as well. So there's lots of elements going on here, depending on which level you come at it. Mostly, I would say it's attack on the farms, and mostly it's fear again, ramping up this fear and attack on the food supply. But there are these, again, with everything, there's this practical element and there's this occult element, and they're always running side by side. And on the top, attack on the farms and the food chain quite clearly, and fear of these flus and these, let's get some more jabs in them, let's lock down, get all these policies in place. And then underneath that, there's this esoteric understanding of you become what you eat, you take on the soul, and these 7 plagues. So everything kind of comes double layered with this coding. So it's very, very interesting. I mean, for the fact that people are still looking to the news and taking it seriously in terms of these things. The issue is, these guys have the ability to put something real out. And then if you're ignoring it, how do you know when they haven't switched that switch over? That's the only thing in the back of my mind. Because, you're always being led by the mainstream media of what you believe. So they could be putting out lie about all this stuff. And then they put out something actually created in a lab. So, you've kind of got to understand that they can just twist and turn anything they want. But these avian bird flus are just obviously just to keep it ticking along, keep that fear ticking along like a fog, and attack the food chain. That's what I see there on the surface level, literally.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was mention of Marburg, there was mention of Ebola again, of the plague coming back as in the Black Death. or the bubonic plague, of monkeypox. That's still not cleared off. So yeah, you're right. They're kind of like, seeding. And the other part of it as well is this sheep's tested positive. What with? With a PCR test up his nose, probably. Do you know what I mean? Is the sheep poorly? Is the sheep sat down reading a copy of More magazine and eating a chicken soup and being fine? Like, we don't know, do we? I just hope that.
I think you're right about the sheep there, though. The Christian element of it, of being the lambs to the slaughter, absolutely, that is definitely part of it. So this story could be completely made up, and that's the esoteric understanding that revelation of the method that the West are due to be taken down, as we've spoken about many times here, which is quite clear there's an attack on the West at the moment. So hugely. I would say that that's part of it. Yeah, you've got to read these things on multiple levels.
I just hope the sheep isn't slaughtered within 28 days of a positive test, Rich, because then we're in all kinds of trouble. Moving on then, Rich, the Royal Society decides not to take action against Elon Musk. What's this about, mate?
Well, the Royal Society, what's really interesting about this is that a lot of people don't know that the Royal Society was controlled way back when by a guy called Thomas Henry, I believe, Huxley, who was the grandfather or great-grandfather of Julian and Aldous Huxley. Now, he started something called the X Club. Here we go. So all the symbology is there, and the X Club used to meet a few days before the Royal Society would meet in this sector of the Royal Society, and basically decide the agenda for it. They were the top level. They were the inner core of the Royal Society. So Elon Musk being part of the Royal Society would make absolute sense when eugenics became transhumanism through Julian Huxley, who was given the job of rebranding it after World War II, and he chose the word transhumanism. And obviously Elon Musk is now the poster boy for transhumanism and the X Club. So the Royal Society decides not to take disciplinary action against Elon Musk. Of course they're not, because he's their poster boy now. So it goes down. The Royal Society has decided not to take disciplinary action against Elon Musk over his conduct, saying that to do so could cause damage to the Academy and science itself. There you go. It's not science, it's scientism. This is transhumanism. Musk, the Tesla and SpaceX CEO, who also owns the social media platform, was elected a fellow of the UK's National Academy of Sciences in 2018, and I covered this in one of the classifieds about 2 months ago, apparently in recognition of his work in the space and electrical vehicle industry, just stealing the name Tesla and the company as apparently his work now. However, over the past years, calls have grown forth from both fellows and the wider scientific community for the Academy to take action and concerns over Musk has violated the Academy's code of conduct, which incidents ranging from calling the British MP Jess Phillips a, here we go, rape genocide apologist, to his role in making swinging cuts to research funding in the US through the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which has basically taken that money and put it into this Stargate lunacy of $500 billion. So that basically what we're seeing here, and this relates to the story that's coming up later, and unfortunately there's another Musk one, of the privatization of all of these groups, including your government. So now they've taken that money from this scientific Royal Society, which had an inner core called the X Club, obviously. And now that X Club is taking over completely in terms of privatization. And the way I put it is basically you're going to get told what to do with the Argos you've got. So Argos is going to be your boss. Basically, it's going to be a worldwide corporation. Do what the corporations tell you, and we'll go through that later a little bit more in depth, because they institutions, if they're a corporation, they have policies, and no one reads the policies, and also it's a corporation, it's a dead entity. So very interesting. The X Club of the Huxleys, the Eugenics Club, is still very much alive and kicking, and Elon Musk is the poster boy. That's why he won't get in trouble.
Well, I mean, Huxley, Brave New World, that then influenced. He actually tutored, didn't he, George Orwell, who then goes on to write 1984. Like, these people know the deal. The other thing as well to note is Elon Musk's obsession with the letter X. It's not normal, and it's clearly there for a reason. It's not just some random thing. And I just looked at it. You got SpaceX, obviously. He's changed Twitter to X as soon as he's taken control of it. Tesla Model X, X.com. He called his kid X. I mean, do you know what I mean? There's something. Now, you talk about the X Club. It's interesting because I looked at this. This is from Wikipedia. This is what they say. That the X Club was a dining club of 9 men who supported the theories of natural selection and academic liberalism. Yeah, Darwinism, basically. In the late 19th century, Thomas Henry Huxley was the initiator. So you're absolutely right. Now, what I find with Wikipedia is a lot of it's drivel, a lot of it's nonsense because of who controls it. But also there are nuggets in there where they kind of tell you. And actually what I found key was the fact that it said that the key aim of the X Club was to actually reform the Royal Society, was to actually change it by infiltrating it, which is exactly what they did. So yeah, the obsession with X, and it doesn't come from nowhere because symbolism is huge to these people, isn't it, Rich? It's literally, it's their language. It's how they communicate with each other.
Yeah, it's absolutely their language. And X is another symbol for Saturn. Saturn being the I think it's I can't remember if it's the 7th planet or the 5th planet on the Kabbalah. They all speak in code. Every single one of them speak in code. When they talk about the golden age, it's the golden age of Saturn. Trump's talking about that. And you're right. So the infiltration of the Royal Society was Sabbatean. That's exactly what Sabbatean does. They go in like a virus, Bill Gates. They study the virus and they go in and they change it from within. Happened everywhere. The US government is a classic example. Obviously, it's Israel's government, has been for a very, very long time. They've gone in and sabotaged it from within. Israel itself would have been sabotaged from within. Their own government would have probably, when they first started up, believed in many of the things that they were pushing, although we might think it's nonsense, all this messianic stuff. But it's been sabotaged, and everything gets sabotaged from within by this messianic lunatics. So, yes, you're completely right. And to say that it's been clearly now, as we've seen, the X Club have taken over the Royal Society, and the X Club is this transhumanist, technocratic AI cult that really goes back to their gods of the Kabbalah, who were androgynous gods. They had both a female and male aspect, and they were split into two, and then that goes into the whole Kabbalah of reunification and bringing the male and female back together into an androgynous being, as we're seeing here. So Musk might pretend to be against all of this woke androgyny, but he knows how it fits into their agenda because he wants his robotic Neuralink people to be androgynous, and as we saw in Brave New World, they won't produce, it'll be in hatcheries.
Yeah, and that, the Saturn symbolism of X is everywhere as well. In terms of the black cube, that sits on the head of certain
the Teflon.
Sects of Judaism. You've got Muslims in Mecca bowing down to the black cube. You've got organizations like BlackRock. They always tell you. This is a weird one, Rich. So this broke overnight. This is a story about Jessica Aber. She was a Biden appointed district attorney. Now, she's been found dead. Now, she's my age. She's 43 years old. Authorities so far, from what I can see at the time we're filming, have said that no cause of death has been determined, but there's no foul play. Well,
that's a contradiction.
Yeah. What do you mean? Doesn't make any sense. You either know how she died and there's no foul play, or you don't know how she died and you don't know if there was foul play. It doesn't make any sense.
Just come out and say Israel didn't do it. Well, now we'll do the investigation.
Well, this is the thing, you see. Now, Jessica, she left her role in January, literally as Trump came into office. I don't know, I'm not an American, I don't know how abnormal that is when you have a district attorney appointed by the previous president for her to just literally quit almost on the day the new one comes in. From my limited knowledge of the American, district attorney club, I've never heard that happen before. You would normally be replaced or whatever. I just walking away, I don't know how common that is. To me, I don't remember it happening before. But she left anyway as Trump came in. Now, when you look at the people she's gone for, it's a very interesting one because she's basically gone for the same people that own Trump. So I can understand then, I guess, why she's walked away at that point. Jessica was the prosecutor in a case of a CIA agent who'd been leaking information about Israel's planned attacks on Iran. I thought Iran was the aggressor. Rich. But basically, he had all this information about what Israel was planning to do in terms of preemptive strikes against Iran. He leaked that information across, so she prosecuted him for that. She was able to extradite an Israeli national back to America after he'd fled the country. Now, what this Israeli national had been doing is basically been falsifying passports, falsifying visas, and creating basically a club that was basically smuggling in Israeli nationals into America without, having a passport or a visa or any of the correct documentation. He was basically people trafficking, essentially, Israeli nationals into the United States. Now, he fled to Israel, as they often do, but she was able to actually extradite him back. Now, that doesn't happen. So that in itself is a bit of a, how did she manage that? Because basically, Israeli citizenship laws kind of prevent it normally. It's very rare that it happens. Most famously, you have paedophiles that commit acts of child abuse, paedophilia in the United States, and they flee to Israel. And because of their citizenship laws, if they're Jewish, they instantly have citizenship to go and live in someone else's house on someone else's land, and they don't get extradited back to the United States. And it's actually, if you look into that, it's not a conspiracy theory. You look into that, it's actually quite a big problem. It's not an isolated, it happens occasionally. It happens quite often. Now, this is a quote on this. Many accused American paedophiles have fled to Israel, taking advantage of the law of return, which grants automatic citizenship to Jewish individuals and their families, like I said, to live in Palestinian houses, with minimal barriers. While criminal background checks exist, offenders bypass these requirements in various ways, allowing them to evade justice. So the fact that she's able to go and extradite someone back from Israel and have them charged is quite an achievement. It would have annoyed a lot of people as well. Jessica, she's also gone after members of the CIA previously. She's gone after Russian cyber criminals that have worked in collusion with people involved in the CIA, it was saying, organized crime, so that she's got plenty of enemies. She's 43 years old. They don't know how she's died, but they know it wasn't nefarious. Don't know how you can know that. So that's already a red flag to me, Rich. And then this was a red flag as well. So I saw this article that broke this morning in The Independent in England, where they had a transcript from the 911 call. I've written 999 call here, but it's America, isn't it? The 911 call. And what the person says is they've received a phone call. So this is someone on the switchboard. They've received a phone call from someone saying they found a lady unresponsive. So that'll be Jessica. They found Jessica unresponsive. They phoned 911. Then this dispatch officer who's talking to the paramedic who's on the way in the ambulance says to them that the person who called refused to perform CPR.
What?
Well, that was my reaction, Rich. What? What do you mean? Why? Now, it doesn't say why, but that in itself, again, that was a red flag. Why would you phone up, say there's someone unresponsive or found someone's body? Now, she was found in bed, so whoever's made that call is in her house. So I found her in bed, unresponsive. So at that point, obviously, the dispatcher on the phone would say, can you find a pulse? If the answer is no, are they breathing? No, okay. So you would be told to perform CPR to try and obviously save their life while the ambulance is en route. And that person's refused. I mean, I think it's one to watch, Rich. I think it's a bit of a strange one, this, mate.
It definitely is. I mean, it's just red flags all over the place, isn't it? That one. I mean, who's speaking out? Who's got anything to gain? Or those who she's speaking out against? I've seen some of the comments of going, "Oh, she knew too much about the Biden family." It's ridiculous. Of course, it's not just that. This whole Israeli kind of infiltration has been going on for hundreds of years. This isn't anything to do, or Biden been part of it, but in a long stream of Bidens and Trumps and Bushes and all of these, like, and Obamas, it's nothing to do with that. And even I would say over here, Keir Starmer's and all of these guys over here, Blair, it's the same thing. So she's obviously pointed out and got something done. The extradition is really interesting why that's been done. So maybe there's some people out there, which is a good thing, helping within the system to try and get this guy cleared, this stuff cleared up or out in the open. If he does, is he still alive? I mean, he won't be for, well, he may not be for much longer if he's with us. And then you have their kind of element, was he a double agent passing information both ways? There's probably something deeper going on there as well. So, and just to add to that, that's really interesting what you say about if you're Jewish, they'll get protection there, or Jewish as a faith. So you're choosing to be of the Jewish faith. And I believe that it goes down your mother's side. So I believe it's 2 generations back. Your grandmother has to have been said to be Jewish. So it's almost like this protection thing that you could do. And in 2 generations, you know that you would have a safe haven. Because if I said that you could come here if you were Christian, you wouldn't be deported. People will go, what are you talking about? It's a faith. It's the same thing, but because it's been designated or kind of framed as something other than just a faith, there's other things that come with it, which is very, very bizarre and very interesting to look into. So the fact that she got him deported, there was obviously a reason why. And then obviously this is very, very dodgy. Very much so. And obviously I've seen straight away the Trump lot trying to blame the Bidens and what she knew about the Bidens, which is just absurd. They're completely missing the whole Israel connection there out. So it'll be an interesting one to watch, as you say, but none of this stuff happens by accident. And the fact that a friend, I mean, what were they doing in their house anyway? They must have had a key to get in and refused to do CPR is very bizarre, because obviously they've got Act House. It has to be a family member or someone close.
It is very strange. But like I say, it'll be one to watch. We'll see where it goes. I mean, obviously, if it's anything dodgy, then they'll try and bury it. But it seems to me it's harder to bury things these days. You know, the things kind of sneak out, and there's a lot of good people out there, even within these organisations, like you say, that are actually, I'm not having it, you know. Okay, final story then, Rich. We're going back to Elon Musk again. She's always good fun.
We are. Yep. So I apologise for the 2 Musk stories here, but this one was really interesting in terms of this leak, supposed signal leak. Now, what many people don't know, and I didn't know till I was researching last night, that Elon Musk disclosed way back funding WhatsApp rival, which makes me laugh because it's not a rival, because the guy who co-founded WhatsApp also co-founded Signal as well. So it's not a rival, is it? It's Pepsi Cola. He says he will donate more. So, and there's a screenshot here which shows that Elon Musk did donate to Signal. So he's got a vested interest in promoting Signal. So what I'm thinking here is that this whole thing is about just pushing Signal as an app to use. And there's many elements to this. So this was really important. So remember what I said earlier about the privatization of your government. So this is what he said about the app itself and why it was used. Because you think, well, why would they use an open source app to push this? And he was saying basically that the government's technology is substandard. It's bog standard, and it's easy to break into. But if you use Signal, it's encrypted both ends. Remember, it wasn't broken into. They allowed someone they shouldn't apparently in. But what that's doing now is putting Signal into everybody's mind as an app to use for encryption both sides. Remember, that app is also created by the founder or co-founder of WhatsApp. So they're giving you the other option, and they're promoting a app that's a private app. So now this private company is infiltrating the government, and they're using their technology. So the privatization of your government is happening right in front of your face. They are using private companies as the technology to control how the government is now feeding information back to each other. So you can see what's happening here. They're going to be beholden to whoever has that data, which will be these big tech companies like Signal and WhatsApp. So the privatization of your government is already happening, and Elon Musk is already donating to this company. You can see this happening right in front of you. So again, I talked about before a world corporation where it doesn't have to stick to your fundamental rights. Your fundamental rights in the US, you have your Bill of Rights. They can skip past that because they are a corporation. They have their own policies. So that's the workaround of your freedom of speech and all these things. They can twist it in regards to their policy. So it is like being beholden to an Argos. It's ridiculous, but that's the way they're doing it. So people don't understand is that they're actually taking power from the government and passing it over to these big tech companies and promoting themselves as the savior of free speech and keeping things secure at the same time. It's quite obvious to me what's happening here.
Well, the thing is as well, Rich, is you then get everyone onto a certain app, especially if the people then believe that it's encrypted at both ends, and it's, I can have secret conversations in here. I can whistle-blow stuff here. There's no way they don't have access to it. So essentially, you're pushing people to go somewhere where they can share stuff that might potentially get them in trouble, or might, show that they have a bit of knowledge about something. If you want to get rid of them for having that knowledge, then essentially you're bringing them to your club to have these conversations, which you will absolutely have access to. What I find funny is this "it's okay when we do it" stuff. So what you've got now, particularly with Musk, but there are others, Peter Thiel being one of them, is that you can control through ownership, through funding, these particular Silicon Valley tech giants, and it's kind of switched. So in the old days, the ownership was deemed to be, it was in the hands of the left, wasn't it? So you would have the advancement of woke gender ideology and all this kind of stuff, and the censorship of conservative views, and the censorship of people calling out, wokeism, basically. And algorithms would promote wokeism, and algorithms would censor and hide conservative views, or they just delete you, which obviously happened a hell of a lot on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook and the rest. And the right obviously was annoyed about that and called it out. We all called it out because it's censorship and it's against free speech. But it's okay when we do it. So now it appears that the people on the right essentially now have taken over ownership of these tech giants, where they're now censoring the other side, and then through algorithms, and they're now promoting their side through algorithms. But suddenly it's fine when we do it, and it's interesting because it's not fine when anyone does it. But what I saw, and the story's not related to Musk or anything like that, but I think it's an example of basically it's okay when we do it. You've got this Snow White actress Rachel Ziegler, easy for me to say. Now, I'm not a fan of the whole new woke Snow White and Disney, and I'm not a fan of Disney full stop. Very nefarious history in terms of lots of different things, but also in terms of basically perception modification and controlling what people think, what young people, what young minds think and see. But she tweeted, free Palestine, right, Rich? Okay, free Palestine. So what? So you want to free Palestine from oppression? You want to free it from the bombardment of bombs and starvation and electricity cuts and no water, a genocide. You want to free it from that? Yeah, so do I. Now, her tweeting that, right, had an exec fly all the way to New York to appeal to her to take it down, right? That's embarrassing. But she refused, which I think is good. Now, the right, bearing in mind, we're against cancel culture. They've now taken, I've seen so many of these people, regular folk and big influencer accounts, basically saying, well, she's nuked her career by doing that. Good. She's done. She will fade off into oblivion now for tweeting that. And you're like, oh, so cancel culture's okay now then? Oh, because it was a problem before. And it's the same with these tech giants. When they were controlled by the so-called left and the woke ideology, it was a problem. But now it's controlled by the right, and your ideology, it's fine. It's not a problem. It is extraordinary to see the switch over in terms of who's in control.
Oh, it's the leaps in logic is amazing to me, and it's been happening this happens all the time when you've been doubled down in some sort of cult mentality and you have to keep going, and you've done 10 years of believing this thing and everything that you do is about that. When you realise something doesn't add up, you've got to look back over your actions for the last 10 years. So yeah, of course there is. It's the same thing as people going on about like the reptilian shape-shifting thing, thinking that's absolutely ludicrous, but then they believe that Jesus walked on water and escaped from a cave and went up with his sky daddy. They're both out there ways of thinking, aren't they? So let's be honest as grown-ups and go, yeah, there's a lot going on here that we don't understand. Musk said on topic of this, so this is what Musk said and why I'm saying that this is about creeping in corporations into the side here and taking over your government, which we can all see. You're going to be part of a world corporation if we don't stop this. And your Bill of Rights means nothing because it's a policy that will take over. Musk shared on X, of course he would, a post by author and cartoonist behind the Dilbert comics, Scott Adams, who wrote, "If Dodge taught us anything, it's that all our government systems are Stone Age relics. My best guess is that every government official in both parties uses commercial apps for all but the most sensitive stuff. There is no real choice. He's contradicted himself there because he said all but the most sensitive stuff. So there is a choice because they either do or they don't. But yes, you can see this trust Signal. Signal will be encrypted both ends, but who's encrypting one end and the other? Is the same guys that started WhatsApp. There's the Peter Thiels of the world and all these technocrats that have been ushered in. This X club that we were speaking about earlier are going to take over governments, and they are, because you're going to have a corporation telling you what to do and what to do with the products. That's why you will own nothing and be happy, because you will be told what to do with those products, even though they're yours. And that's why they say they'll be on loan. You won't own it. You won't be able to do what you want with it. Even your car will take you to the destinations they want you to. You've got to see this coming because it's everywhere. So the World Corporation is what you want to watch out for. And it's a technocratic, transhumanist X club that's coming.
I'm not sold, Rich. I'm not up for it. I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to be part of it.
No, you don't want Adidas telling you what to do you?
Not really. I don't even want Puma telling me what to do.
Not really. Couldn't afford Puma.
But we can stop it. We can stop it by just saying no to it. That's the thing I think that is the important takeaway from all of these things. We have these conversations every single day, 5 days a week. Sorry, we sit here and we have conversations. We say this is what they're doing, this is what they're doing, and there's people there going, where's the solutions and all that kind of stuff. It's negative. Yeah, it is negative, but it's fine. You can go to Glastonbury, put on a tie-dye jacket and play with crystals if you like. It's not going to change anything, but you can do that. That's fine. Good for you. But I think you have to call out the negative. You have to make people aware of the negative, because once enough people are aware of the negative, they say no to it. And when they say no to it, it crumbles like a wet cake. And that's what the solution is. 100%.
That's why, Gaz, as you say, the boycott thing is so important. That's what they hate and they're terrified of boycotting. Just don't participate in your own doom and your own falling by just saying, I'm not going to use that, not going to touch that, not going to go on that. So There is a way. There's too many of us.
100%. Rich, I shall see you tomorrow morning again, my friend, and then Friday I believe it's you and Jay. I hope everyone at home has a great day. I hope we haven't negged you out too much by bringing these stories, but it's so important, to listen to what me and Rich are saying, but then also go and have a look yourself. Go and have a look at each of these individual stories we spoke about today. Look at Jessica Aber in America and see what you think, mate. Do you think that? I mean, to me, it was a red flag. You might think otherwise. But thanks for joining us. It's always great talking to you, Rich. As always, Trending's brought to you in association with Iconic Coffee. It doesn't have any coffee in it now. It's just an empty mug. But, head over to shop.iconic.com. Use the code Trending. You get 10% off. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, pal.
See you later.